Mark your calendars, 30 days, some pretty big financial news that could seriously impact all of us. It's your boy Ron here, making sure that we get the freshest, latest updates and everything that's happening with our economy and today's market. So speaking of, did you guys hear about the Fed raising interest rates yet again? Check out this announcement from Fed Chair Jerome Powell and take note of what he's really saying here. Did you hear that part about the pause being far from the horizon? Yeah, translation, they may be planning to keep pumping those interest rate hikes until kingdom come. And so that means ever higher mortgages, auto loans, and most importantly, sky-high credit card bills. Who here is already having a hard time keeping up with their finances as it is? Just drop a quick comment, yes or no, down below. So here's the deal, guys. The Federal Reserve just went ahead and raised the interest rates yet again for the 10th time in a row. Now, apparently, they're trying to keep inflation in check, but some folks are worried that it might slow down the economy too much into a recession, hopefully not a depression. But wait, there's more. So you got Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen, who just announced that the United States government is going to run out of cash around early June, in less than 30 days, guys. So yeah, we're talking about the whole debt ceiling battle that's been heating up lately. And let me tell you guys, the financial markets are already getting a little bit crazy. So what does all this mean for me, for you, and your wallet? Well, that's what we're going to dive into today in this video, so definitely sit tight. We're going to talk about what's really going on in the world of finance. By the way, for the best way to invest in gold, check out the links down below in the description of this video. So basically, Janet Yellen used to be the boss of the Federal Reserve before Jerome Powell, but now she's into politics. Give her a year or two and she's probably going to be running for some big bank or becoming a lobbyist. That's just how this stuff works. Now, in her current role as Treasury Secretary, Janet Yellen, she sent a letter to Congress saying that we're going to run out of money by early June. And that pretty much freaked out the markets when they opened. Not to mention, a few banks have gone completely bust and collapsed, and the Federal Reserve just raised interest rates by yet another 0.25%. So, looks like everything's under control, right? I mean, what could possibly go wrong, right? Anyway, so if you're interested in the markets, make sure that you know what you're doing and keep an eye on things. Why? Well, because stuff can go south real quick. So you know that saying about how the stock market takes the stairs up and the elevator down? Yeah, it's no joke. A lot of people have been blindsided by the market's ups and downs, so definitely be careful out there, you guys. Now, first off, Janet Yellen's dire warning. She just came out and said that the governments could run out of money to pay its bills as early as June 1st. Now, I'm talking major financial disaster here, both in the United States and abroad. It's no joke, folks. I mean, we got to get this sorted out ASAP. See, what's happening is the Republicans in the House, they're trying to use this debt ceiling as leverage to push through some big spending cuts on Joe Biden. And if they could get their way, it could mean big trouble for millions of Americans. Janet Yellen wrote to House Speaker Kevin McCarthy that unless Congress acted, it would cause severe hardship to American families, harm our global leadership position, and raise questions about our ability to defend our national security interests. Experts have already warned of a potential crisis on the scale of the 2008 financial meltdown, with the threat of benefits not being paid to veterans and senior citizens, and halts to military funding and vital government programs. So consider this as proof that the situation just got real. So Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen's letter has turned the theoretical threat of a summer default into a flashing deadline. So this leaves House Speaker Kevin McCarthy, President Biden, and others just scrambling to save the economy with very little time left. Thankfully, McCarthy has already accepted an invitation to meet with the president on May 9th to talk about the debt ceiling. And President Biden has also invited congressional leaders to the White House next week to try and sort out this crisis. It's a high-stakes moment for both the Democrats and the Republicans, and who knows, maybe they'll actually find a compromise that works for everybody. Now, the political futures of both the president and the speaker, they're on the line here. So really, here's how all this boils down. So the government spends more than it takes in, so it needs to borrow money. Now, the debt is going so high that the government needs to raise the debt ceiling. This is basically just a fancy way of saying borrowing limit. Anyway, so Democrats, they're saying that it's necessary to pay for spending that they've already approved. But what's interesting is that the Republicans didn't have a problem with it when Trump was in charge. Now, the thing is we're running out of time to raise the debt ceiling. And both sides are pretty much playing chicken, thinking that the other is going to give in first. But there's no evidence that this is actually going to happen. It's making everybody just a little bit nervous. Now, this has happened before back in 2011, and it almost caused a disaster. The United States lost its top-level credit rating, which made borrowing money even more expensive. And now, things got even worse because the Republicans are more divided than ever. And some of them were saying that they won't even vote to raise the debt ceiling no matter what. So we're in a real bind here. We need to raise the debt ceiling, but no one wants to be the first to blink. And if we don't raise the debt ceiling, it's going to hurt a lot of people, especially those on Social Security who might not get all of their benefits. Plus, it could make the economy even worse. So let's just hope that they figure something out soon. Now, I've seen some comments before, and they've been saying that there's nothing scarier these days than being 5 to 6 years away from retirement. They scream crimped and saved and they're debt free, but the uncertainty is not something they anticipated at this stage in their life. Does this resonate with anybody? What do you guys think about that? Then there's the Fed rate hike. So the Fed just raised their benchmark interest rate to 5 to 5.25%. And wouldn't you know it, another mid-sized bank, First Republic, failed and then got bought out by JP Chase, making it the second biggest bank failure in US history. It's crazy, right? So the Fed thinks that the hike is still a good idea to fight inflation, but some economists and experts are worried that it could hurt small businesses and lead to more unemployment. Plus, inflation has already been slowing down lately. So many people are asking, why add fuel to the fire? Now, the big worry is that now, if they raise interest rates even just a little bit more, we could slide into a really nasty recession. And some Democrats like Elizabeth Warren and Pramila Jayapal, they're calling for the Fed to just chill out on the interest rate hikes to keep things from getting even worse for working class Americans and small businesses. Their words, quote, a pause on the Fed rate hikes in order to avoid engineering a recession that destroys jobs and crushes small businesses, end quote. Yeah, those are some pretty strong words and a very clear warning here. I mean, like, what do they want? Americans just giving up their homes to institutional investors and everybody just renting and barely eking out a living? Yeah, no thank you on that one. Now, already I'm hearing from people all over, not just here in the United States, but all over the whole world. So I got an email from a fan in Australia, and they said that they have been following us because it gives them a time frame for when things hit over in the land down under. They said here, quote, I'm desperately trying to save money to get solar generators to keep my large freezer running, but my hours at work have been gutted to 3 days a week now. So I'm just covering my bills on a crap wage. Applying for heaps of jobs as a second income, but so are hundreds of other people. We just got another rate rise. It makes number 11. People are really struggling already and hasn't truly hit the fan yet. God help us all, end quote. Well, it's getting real out there, folks. I'm betting a lot of people could actually relate to what he's saying right here. I mean, am I right? So the Fed's been on a mission for the past year, get inflation under control. And how are they doing it? By jacking up interest rates, which makes it more expensive for regular people and for businesses to borrow money. The idea is that if people stop borrowing money, then they'll stop spending so much. And that should ultimately bring prices down. It's a pretty simple concept, really. Anyway, the Federal Reserve just announced yet another rate hike, but don't worry, this could be the very last rate hike for a while. So Jerome Powell, the Federal Reserve Chair, he hinted that this might very well be the last rate hike. Now, some experts are actually saying that we need more rate hikes to keep inflation from spiraling out of control, but others are calling for a pause right now. Now, apparently, the thinking is that high wages are causing inflation, so we can't let workers make too much money is what they're saying. Sounds like a whole lot of bull if you ask me. So the Fed is saying that they might hike up interest rates again in the future if things get really bad with inflation and all that stuff. But if they do that, then the market's going to freak out and nobody's going to be happy. So for now, they're just kind of holding off, just kind of seeing how everything plays out. So we're going to have a wait and see approach and just see how many more banks get swallowed up by the big guys like JP Chase. It's all part of the game, you know? Rich get richer, the banks get more consolidated, and the government gets more control. And don't forget about the Fed's new digital currency. Oh yeah, that's pretty much where it's all going. Now, if you're just trying to save your cash in the bank, you're pretty much losing money because inflation rate's higher than the interest rate that you're being paid. Like if inflation's at 15% and your interest rate's at 5%, then you're losing 10% of your money every single year. It's like you're paying the bank just to hold your money. And let's not forget that everything is getting more expensive too. I mean, I was in the store the other day and prices were just insane, like double what they were a year ago on some items. And yet the government says inflation's only around 6%. Yeah, nobody's buying that. Nothing in the grocery store has only gone up only 6%. It's more like 15, 20, 30%. I'm telling you guys, the government is just trying to hide exactly how bad things are. But the truth is, it's only going to get worse if people start freaking out. They just can't keep printing money and expect everything to be okay. The stock market's starting to realize that. But you know what's really concerning, and the stock market is just totally ignoring it? The commercial real estate market is going through a massive bust right now. I mean, with everybody working from home, who wants to go to the office anymore? Especially in downtown areas where it's not even all that safe. But the problem is that is where the most expensive real estate is. Like in Manhattan, San Francisco, and Chicago, and all these other places, a lot of these buildings are sitting there empty, like 50% of the office buildings in downtown Chicago. So if you're a building owner and you rent it out, maybe you're a REIT management company, maybe an ETF that holds nothing but commercial real estate REITs, how are you going to pay the bank back? It's a huge mess. And all these banks have all of these assets on their books that are basically worthless, but they don't want to admit to it. And when they finally have to, well, it's going to be game over. 3 big banks have already gone under in the last couple of months. It's not looking good, my friends. You know what I think? Every politician that voted for that huge $1.7 trillion bill at the end of 2022 without actually reading it, they need to be voted out of office. And you got to go way, way back. The nonsense has been brewing for a long time, way before 2022, way before that. So yeah, you got to be ready to weather the storm that's coming and keep yourselves and your families safe. Make sure you stock up on food and all that good stuff too. But don't forget to take care of your finances. Because let's be real, guys. Things are getting pretty rough out there. Stay up to date with what is going on with the economy and the stock market, and also how it's going to affect your wallet. Subscribe to the channel now and also hit that notification bell. Appreciate you guys watching today's video. I also want to thank you guys so much for always dropping a like for it as well. Really a lot to watch out for in the coming days. We're definitely going to feel that rate hike take effect on everything from your credit card bills to your savings rates, but really 30 days before the government runs out of money and people stop getting their payments. That's the real headline here. We got to make sure we stay tuned, stay up to date, make sure you do not miss out on the next one. By the way, for the best way to invest in gold or silver, the link's in the description down below. Please be kind to one another, and I'll see you guys on the next one.